Hurricanes are now in Minecraft. With the 0.15 update for ProtoManly's weather mod, tropical systems were added, immersing weather even more into the game. Today, we're going to go over the update specifics, everything you need to know about hurricanes, and some of the new radar features. If you want to learn what else this mod encases, including details of all the blocks, tornadoes, and weather systems, I recommend you watch this video, link is in the description below. Without further ado, let's hop right into the video. Alright, we're going to be starting off strong here with PM Weather's tropical systems for version 0.15. So as you can see here, it's clear and sunny. However, if I spawn a tropical cyclone, boom, here is our tropical cyclone, also known as a hurricane, as it has reached hurricane force winds. So hurricanes and tropical systems, all they really are large low pressure systems that carry heavy rain, high winds, and lightning. They're very large. You know, these things are thousands of blocks wide. The average hurricane in this game is around 9,000 blocks wide. So this one's 10,000, I believe. You know, they can last for a whole day. All right, when it comes to the formation of hurricanes and tropical systems, they always form over oceans. And preferably, they actually like these warmer oceans. So these, you know, coral infested, lighter shaded, warm oceans, these have warmer temperatures and will feed hurricanes. And can even, especially this one, this is the warmest ocean actually in the game, as you can see by this, you know, very, very teal water. These will actually rapidly intensify. You know, I've had a hurricane go over these waters and immediately hit, you know, category 4, category 5 in just a couple minutes. So these things are very powerful. If you put your house next to one of these, you're don't say I didn't warn you. Now, when it comes to the tropical storm and hurricane scale, which they are rated on, first of all, you have tropical storm. Those can range once you get a system that's over 34 miles an hour sustained winds. And of course, once you get up to 75, which is hurricane force, that's when you hit the category 1 range. And of course, it goes up all the way to 5. Of course, you know, weaker hurricanes don't do a bunch of damage, but category 4 or 5 hurricanes can have some very intense winds that can rip apart entire forest and your entire town. So make sure when one's coming, you take cover. Okay, now we're going to spawn back our hurricane here so I can take a look at the structure. So as you can see, the biggest feature here is the eye. The eye is what hurricanes are so well known for. The calm, sunny eye. The eye of the hurricane actually doesn't start forming until the category 2, category 3 range. So once a hurricane hits major status, that, you know, low-end cat 3 range, is when this eye will start to appear. That's when you know you're dealing with something big, something major. If we can actually, let me take y'all up to go see the rest of the hurricane. Nope, that's the wrong button. Okay, so if I take y'all up here, you can actually see the structure of the hurricane. So as you see, we have the eye, and we have the stadium effect, as it's these are very tall, thick storms. Around the eye is the eye wall, and of course out there are the spiral bands. But you can really see the eye very far up here. I mean, these things are very tall. I can't believe ProtoManly got this to even work. These things are huge. These things are massive, you know, thousands of blocks in scale here. But that just about does it for the eye. Let's look at the scariest part of the hurricane, which is the eye wall. So for the next part of the hurricane we're going to be looking at is the eye wall. As you can see, the eye is now starting to clear the area, and the weather is about to get stormy. It's starting to rain again, and the winds are now going to be picking up. Here we go. Rain and wind is starting now. As you can see here. Here we go. You see, now we have these mist particles, and you can really hear the roar of the hurricane starting to begin. You can actually hear the leaves starting to go. Okay, we're getting hurricane force winds. So yeah, you can really start to hear the wind. We get the particles going. Visibility is greatly reduced in these. Yeah, 113, 115. So we have a major hurricane here right now. I believe these could get even stronger. But here you go. See, entire forest getting ripped through here. Now, the damage is only rendered within a certain area of the player. So, of course, to reduce lag. But look at this. So, the eye wall can get pretty intense. All right, now if we actually look at our radar here, which is used to pick up precipitation and wind velocities of rain particles, you can actually see our hurricane. You can see the eye, you know, you can see the The eye wall right here, that is that darker region right around the eye. And on the outside is the spiraling outer band. So those are going to be weaker winds with the strongest winds at the eye wall here. Now here's the interesting thing. See how this hurricane, after a while, look at these bands. So these bands are actually starting to form kinks. These are known as mesovortexes. So these are essentially like large tornadoes. You get areas of rotation basically in the eye wall where you can have enhanced winds. So you can see here we have a couple rotating around the eye. I mean, look at these things. They got little hooks. They look quite beautiful. We actually have part of the eye wall coming now. So those mesovortexes can be intense. So if you get hit by one, sometimes you can have actual higher wind gusts than what the hurricane should have, really. Now, let's say you get a very large hurricane. So, you know, average is around 9,000. The minimum is 3,000. Let's say you get something near maximum. Max would be around 16,000. So let's get a 14,000 block hurricane. If you look on, look how large this eye is. But if you look, at radar here, you can see you cannot fit the entire hurricane in here. There's just no way you're going to do that. So we actually have something called the radar range upgrade module that came with this update. So let me get this ready for you. All you got to do is place it right next to it, and it'll give it a second. Might be a little laggy. Oh god. And as you can see, look how far out you are now. So while the range was kind of limited to this area, we've now expanded to see the entire hurricane. So this basically becomes almost like a regional radar. You know, look how many chunks we get to span out now. So many chunks now. You get a nice broad range of radar, and now we can actually see the hurricane. We can see the eye wall. We can see even the spiraling wind bands, and of course you get your velocity. Now, something else that came new with radar is the infrared mode. So basically, this kind of simulates what an infrared satellite presentation would look like. It just basically goes off the reflectivity, but it's almost like to simulate what infrared, which helps see cloud top heights, how intense, you know, the storms are in that section. So of course, you know, these lighter colors, those aren't intense as, you know, rain or storm. And of course, once you get to these reds and of course these grays and blacks and whites, that is where your most intense storm activity is going to be occurring. So really cool radar upgrades we have here. Pretty nice, I'd say. Now, if you actually want to make the radar range upgrade module, it's actually pretty expensive. Very useful, but it's very expensive. So you need a tornado sensor, of course, which is 2 iron ingots, copper ingot, 3 redstone, 3 gold. Not too hard to make. But however, for the radar range upgrade module, you need this tornado sensor, 4 diamonds, and 4 copper ingots. So it is quite expensive to make a radar range upgrader. However, that can be very useful for seeing a broad range of the weather in the air in the region. Now, next thing you may have noticed about the weather radar is there's now terrain. Instead of just being a black screen, we now have the terrain located. So you can even see the ocean colors and temperatures almost in a way. So you actually tell maybe where the hurricane's hitting. If you know your way around the region, you might be able to tell if a hurricane's hitting your house or not. So it's pretty cool. You can see if the hurricane's about to strengthen since it's over warm waters, or if it's hitting land and it means it's going to weaken. 2 new features for the radar. If you go to your config settings and go to client settings, there's something called radar debugging. Now, you can use this to see a lot of things. You know, see environmental parameters, temperature, where clouds are and stuff like that, tornadic wind fields. However, the 2 new ones that got added were SSTs and global winds. Those are the ones I want to talk about. So for global winds, instead of having to look at velocity for, say, hurricane winds, you can actually see the winds straight up. You know, you don't have to look at velocity. Velocity is not the best reading. This will actually give you the wind measurement. So of course you have your light, you know, your greenish winds, you know, probably on tropical storm forest. You know, once you get to that yellow, it's like category 1, you know, category 2. Once you get to the reds and those kind of purples, that is your category 3 to category 4 range. And of course, these dark purples are your category 5 range. And those very dark purples into like grays, those are actually, you know, 170, 180, 200 mile an hour winds there. So you definitely got to stay out of there. but this is a really good way of seeing the structure of hurricanes and just about telling where the strongest winds are, just in case you need to take cover. Now, going for our next radar feature, we're gonna have to clear it for this one. It is going to be our SSTs. Now, these are our ocean water temperatures. So as you can see by our ocean water temperatures, our greens are, I believe, cooler-ish waters. They're kind of your normal water temperatures. Might not encourage as much tropical storm growth, but I believe they can still form there. But the yellows and anything higher, you know, yellows, orange, we get some reds, purples, and pinks. Those are your favorable waters and very, very favorable waters. That's why you can have hurricanes actually strengthen very close to land here. You know, if a hurricane came into this bay, it's moving slow enough, it's going to pick up a lot of steam. Of course, if you want to turn off this radar debug mode, you can just go back to radar debugging and press off and save it. Now it's back to normal. All right, so we're going to now go over other changes that the mod has in store other than the hurricanes and, you know, main radar upgrades. So as you can see here, oh, I'm stuck. Oh god, oh god. So I'm actually going to spawn a squall. Let's get a fairly strong squall. And I spawn it. You can see these blues and purples. Winter precipitation now shows up on radar. As you can see, it is snowing in this cold, snowy biome, and it does show up on radar. So it is pretty cool. Sometimes it does make things look a little weird, but I think it is a good way of telling whether it's going to be snowing or not. So as you can see here, there have been some 2 changes to tornadoes. So this is a large tornado. They used to look a little bit more janky, but now larger tornadoes will actually be looking smoother. And of course, you could probably tell by how loud it is. There are now new tornado sound effects from when the wind gets, you know, very strong. Listen to that roar. It is very loud in here. Another thing that's been added is large-scale synoptic precipitation. So other than just, you know, storms, supercells, squalls, tornadoes, and hurricanes, you can actually have large masses of clouds and rain, that just like in real life, that can come around and that can kind of immerse your world just a little bit more. So there's actually no way to clear it. If you actually go to PM Weather Clear, it won't clear those because they're not storms, they're just stratiform precipitation. But I think it is a cool thing. I would show y'all right now, but we do not have any rain in the area. And for the last thing I want to show y'all is now special for squalls and hurricanes, especially hurricanes due to the strong winds. And I go into survival mode. I am now being pushed by the wind. So the wind can actually push you. I can't fight this wind. This is very strong. I'm not even touching anything right now. And I'm just getting thrown. Oh god. Oh. So yeah, I'm actually fighting against this wind right now. Oh god, we have like 200-mile-an-hour winds here. So if you actually stand behind something, you'll be fine. But as soon as you go out, so yes, now it is difficult to walk. So you actually have to take shelter now during hurricanes and squalls if they become strong enough. So that just about does it for the 0.15 update for ProtoManly's weather mod. Reminder that you can download this mod in Modrinth, which I'll be linking below. And you need to download NeoForge to run this mod as it runs off the program. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe, and I hope you have a nice day.